Okay, so we're going to look at a more complex molecule now. You can see this one has quite a lot of branching going on, which means kind of groups coming off in different directions. It's not just a straight chain of carbons and hydrogens. It's still a hydrocarbon, but we need to follow our IUPAC naming rules to know how we can name this molecule. So we're going to start by finding the longest chain of carbons that we can see. So what about this one here? Does this look like the longest chain? We can see 4 carbons here. Let's try a different place to start our longest chain. So let's go to the top and draw down. No, this one still looks like 4 carbons. Okay, what about going from the downwards direction and going back up? Well, it's the same one we've just drew and it's still only 4 carbons. So it looks like the longest chain we can see is going to be 4 carbons. Now, if we're thinking about the name of a kind of 4 carbon molecule, which is an alkane, we need to think back to our homologous series of names. So let's think about our alkanes, and we know that our alkanes follow a certain order of naming. So if it's a 1 carbon alkane, we're going to call it methane. If it's a 2 carbon alkane, we're going to call it ethane. If it's a 3 carbon alkane, we're going to call it propane. If it's a 4 carbon alkane, it's going to be butane, and 5 carbons is going to be pentane. Now we said we've got 4 carbons here, so it's going to be butane. So that's the name of our longest chain in our molecule. So let's just write this over here so we don't forget it. And then now let's look at what else is going on in the molecule. So once again, here is our longest chain that we're going to use. Now we could use any of them, but I'm going to choose this one here. And the great thing about IUPAC naming is no matter where we name from, it should still have the same name. And I just outlined the 2 things that are branching off our main chain. These 2 groups here. Now both of them have a carbon and 3 hydrogens in them. And if we look at what number they're referring to, the first group is coming off carbon number 2, and the other group is coming off carbon number 3. So you might be thinking, what are these groups? Well, we know they're the same and they each have this single carbon surrounded by 3 hydrogens branching off it. Now, this looks a lot like a methane group, but obviously it's not methane because the 4th thing coming off the carbon is actually back to the main chain. So we call this a methyl group. It's a group that resembles the molecule methane, but it's actually part of a bigger molecule. So what we see on carbon 2, we're seeing a very similar situation on carbon number 3 with that other methyl group coming off it. So we're going to use these 2 methyl groups in our name. Instead of referring to the number 2, we're going to notice that we have 2 methyl groups by using the word dimethyl, and we're going to refer to where these methyl groups are located. So we know they're on carbon number 2 and carbon number 3. So that means that we've got 2 and 3 containing our methyl groups, which leads us to our name 2,3-dimethyl butane.